Should we as Christians be up in arms about the threat of taking our arms away? Today live.
Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here.
Let's get it started in here.
Welcome to The View from a Pew, a conversation among Christians who are out to grow their faith by asking the simple questions, the tough questions, and the stuff you really wish your pastor would talk about. Come on now, let's reason together. It's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so join the conversation. Call 855-244-0077. That's 855-244-0077. Now, here's your host, J. Michael McCoy.
4 minutes after the hour on this 20th day of August in the Lord's year 2013. I'm J. Michael McCoy. It's Tuesday, which means Tom Coates is in the house. And our special guest today is Jeff Burkhart. He is the president of the Iowa Firearms Association. A coalition, sorry. Iowa Firearms Coalition. And we're going to talk about several Second Amendment rights as we walk through the show today. But we want to make sure everybody knows there's a big rally coming up this Saturday. Jeff, why don't you welcome and tell us about it?
Thank you. Well, you can go to our website to get the detailed information, which is Iowa, F as in firearms, C as in coalition.org. So iowafc.org. There's a button right there for the 2A rally, and we're going to have that out in Searsboro, rural Iowa, kind of off the coast of Grinnell there at Brownell's Big Springs Shooting Complex on Saturday. Gates open at 9 o'clock. Going to be able to do a lot of fun things out there, including shoot suppressed weapons, full automatic weapons, a lot of educational things that we'll be doing at the range, as well as fun things at the range. So looking forward to it.
Is it free?
It is free. Yes, there is some admission, or there's no admission, but there are range fees. There's a $10 range fee if you want to participate in range activities, and then some of the various things that you're involved with, you either pay for ammunition or you donate to do some of the activities and that sort of thing.
And by the way, congratulations on that. I think that's great. I think it's better to have a free event where everybody can go, and then if I want to shoot on a range, I can pay for it. If Tom doesn't, then he's not paying for my shooting by an admission fee. So.
Well, and we try to do this as a grassroots event, so we'll have Congressman Steve King will be out there, Jan Michelson and Simon Conway from WHO Radio will be speaking. We'll have state senators and representatives there that are pro-Second Amendment, as well as some people vying for some federal seats that are coming up, so looking forward to it.
If you tell them Tom Coates is coming, I bet everybody will come.
We still got time to add him to the rally.
We got to get you and King on together one time. I think that'd be a great show. That'd be whipped cream and cherries on top.
Haven't done that for a while. We need to get him back on.
All right, let's talk about some of the gun issues. First of all, we'll start with just something today. And Jeff, we've had this show booked for probably a month, month and a half, and yet we have two very high-profile gun cases today. The first one we have is where Rodney Long, who escaped from the Clarinda Correction Facility on Friday, then he shot at a deputy. Luckily, he probably would have killed him if the deputy hadn't had a vest on. But he didn't. And he was shot and killed, I think, this morning, or he was shot and arrested this morning as he was...
I thought he was killed, man.
Yeah,
was he killed?
Okay. Killed with a shotgun. 70-some-year-old man nailed him in his house.
Yeah, in Bedford, Iowa.
And so, all right, well, you know more about it than I do. Tell me what happened. I've got today's paper, and obviously this hadn't happened. This happened at like 8:30 this morning or something?
Yeah, basically, from what I know, and one of our board of directors is actually from the Bedford area down there and actually knows both the officer that was shot and the gentleman that actually shot and killed the guy. But basically, it ended up, as they discovered that this guy had escaped the facility, they brought in, 15, 16 law enforcement agencies, some of which were out of state, to comb the area. This guy had laid low extremely well. Corn's 7 foot tall down there right now, and it's hard for people to scour. But apparently at night, this guy is trying to make his way and navigate through, and decided to break into this house, maybe to find keys for a car or a firearm or who knows what.
He found one,
and he found the
business end of that shotgun.
The business end of the shotgun. That's right. So.
Well, I heard he had cut phone lines on the house before he went in, so that when he broke in, if they went to the phone to call, they couldn't.
Yep.
and that he was scrambling around the house looking for things that he could take with him, kind of survival things. And then the old gentleman woke up and said, "Not in my house," and shot and killed him.
Yes.
Now, isn't that just the perfect example of why we don't need any more gun control? In fact, maybe we ought to lessen some of what we've got.
Well, that's right. I noticed the Des Moines Register's headline had nothing to do with that, so I guess I'm not sure. But, I think it's these type of stories that it's amazing to me. If you get plugged into the right news media outlets, these type of stories happen every day in the United States. But the stories we do hear, which is the other story that you're going to hit on very shortly, are the school shootings, the things that are more negative and more geared towards undermining our Second Amendment rights. Those are the ones that the media loves to run with because they have a very specific agenda.
And what is that agenda? Because there's a lot of people out there, including myself sometimes, that are naive to agendas. And we're just confused of why the left would think that.
Right. And I'll be honest with you. It took me quite a while from a personal perspective, especially on the Second Amendment issue, to come to terms with where we were exactly on this issue. So I don't say that lightly when I say that there's an agenda. I say this out of years of experience being involved politically and evaluating the facts, not just here in Iowa, but across the nation in what's going on. And it's sad to say, and it's sad to say, it'd be selfish for me to limit it to the Second Amendment, but being that that's what we're talking about today, I'll concentrate primarily on that. But I mean, ultimately, there are people in this country who do not like the way our country was founded and the foundation that it was established on. And they're doing everything in their power to undermine those rights to create the America that they want to see.
And in your opinion, and it's a pretty educated and researched opinion, what is that America? It's an unarmed citizenry.
Yes, I mean, you just look. You look at what you see. That your kids are being fed on Disney Channel, that the TV is feeding you on night TV. There are no more movies or shows showing responsible firearms owners anymore. It's all about weaponless environments, unless it's the government coming in to save people through police or some sort of government mechanism. So it's very much a culture where we will live in an unarmed society. The government will protect us, and that's kind of the picture they would have us believe when you look at Hollywood.
Now, he's right, but I didn't think about that. I didn't think about the fact that the only people with guns on TV are hoodlums or government officials. There are no heroes on TV that pack weapons, right?
I'm trying to think of the last time I've seen any kind of self-defense shooting, or even for that matter on primetime TV, any kind of objective coverage for shooting sports or any of the things that are going on positively with firearms in America right now.
What about Top Shot?
I have no doubt.
What about Top Shot? Dan asks.
Yeah, Top Shot. There's things like Top Shot, and I think on you get on the satellite channels, you can find some niche firearms things that are out there.
But certainly not network and mainstream media.
I'm talking more network and mainstream media and the culture that's being permeated through Disney and your big sources that are really the ones pushing the cultural message right now.
Is tyranny a word only used by conservatives?
No, I think I've read and heard a lot of liberals using the word tyranny to basically describe people that they feel are modern day terrorists that use that word. So if you start talking about tyranny in government, which directly ties to the Second Amendment and the history of the Second Amendment here in the United States, that there is a very careful message being crafted by the left right now to paint those type of people as almost modern day terrorists or troublemakers.
Guys like me.
Guys like you and I.
Messed up world.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talk right now when you specifically get on the concept of tyranny in government, with politicians wanting to severely play that down and people trying to say that there is no such thing today, despite the fact that you can look outside our borders and see it all around us, present and alive. So
yeah, absolutely. Jeff Burkhart is my guest today. He is the president of the Iowa Firearms Coalition. They've got a 2A, is that right? Number 2A?
2A rally, yep, abbreviation for the Second Amendment.
Second Amendment.
Yep, 2A
well, I'm
rally.
slow today, aren't I? You probably knew that a long time ago. Second Amendment rally this Saturday in Searsboro, Iowa, which is over by Grinnell, at the Brownells.
Yeah, Brownells Big Springs Range complexes.
Do they have a factory there or something?
No, it's actually just a range facility. So
Okay.
they've got 4 bays out there. One's a 500-yard bay. They've got plenty of shooting bays to do a lot of the shooting events. Brownells is a fantastic organization. Outside of being one of the largest distributors of firearms parts in the world, right here in our backyard in Iowa, they're also very much helpful with training law enforcement, and they
Okay.
do a lot of different type of events there on their range. So
Now, is this Bob Brunell
yes,
that we're talking
Bob
about?
and Pete. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep, his son Pete. In fact, Pete Brownell is on our board of directors as well as being a VP now at NRA. So
Yeah,
Are you talking about Polk County Supervisor Bob Brownell?
Same guy, right?
Oh no, sorry.
No, same guy. Not same guy.
No,
Okay.
not
Not that guy.
Not
All right.
that guy, no.
Okay, all right. Well,
All right.
that's why I was asking. I was confused.
Yeah, that's what I thought for a minute too. Okay.
Yep, I apologize. Pete's dad's name is not Bob either. I didn't catch that.
That's
so.
all right.
But yeah,
But the event's free, basically, and then if you want to shoot or you want to do any certain things, there may be a minimal cost.
Yes.
For ammunition or whatever. Speaking of ammunition, the price of ammunition has skyrocketed.
yes.
Why? Supply and demand?
Yeah, supply and demand. You'll hear a lot of tinfoil hat theorists out there that are kind of throwing things around about the government hoarding ammunition so that the public can't get it and different things like that. But in all honesty, it is very much a simple supply and demand. In fact, those of us who have been watching the shelves at the local ammunition depots, Fleet Farm now, who's moved in, Bass Pro and all the distributors are starting to realize that a lot of your common 9mm and those type of calibers are starting to become more available here slowly, and that'll continue, barring no more significant events that put another run on demand.
Jeff, let me ask you this. Maybe I'm a tinfoil hat guy too, because I had understood and taken it as gospel that the government, especially the TSA, had been buying large amounts of ammunition the last few years, and there have been questions asked what they're doing with all that. Am I incorrect on that?
Yes and no. So there's a couple things that happened. One of which was there was $1 billion contract that was put out by the government to purchase ammo. And the reason that was put out there wasn't any kind of conspiracy behind that. It was simply they knew sequester was coming, and they wanted to have a contract out there that they could pull against at will, not knowing how long sequester would last. They made it $1 billion. I don't think they'll ever pull $1 billion from that contract, but it was simply a buffer so that as sequester hit, they had a mechanism there that they could pull ammo on a need-by-need basis for various government entities. So a lot of that, in some people's minds, got translated as well. They bought $1 billion of ammo to try to keep it out of the hands of Americans, which was not exactly
Do you know how
true.
much they are buying in the last few years? How much have they contributed to the shortage?
A lot, but not significantly. I mean, everyone's pulling more ammo, including other countries, and including about 45 to 50 million new firearms owners within the last 2 years, largely because of Obama. So it's kind of the
So
perfect
this is a good
storm.
time to be an ammunition manufacturer. They're making a lot of money.
Yes, they're making a lot of money. Now, the other thing that factors into this is I'm not sure about TSA, but maybe you're talking about the DHS. There was a concern about the amount of 40 caliber rounds that they were purchasing. I think there are probably some legitimate questions that can be asked there as to why DHS specifically would have been buying the quantities of ammo. So there are some questions that I think need to be asked by members of Congress, but it's not quite as big as what some people have made things out to be.
We're going to take a break, and we'll be back with Jeff Burkhardt, who's the president of the Iowa Firearms Coalition. Now, let me tell you what kind of savvy investor Tom Coates is. I'll bet you a cup of coffee that during this break, he calls his stockbroker and says, check the price of stocks of companies who sell ammunition. Am I right?
Oh, I no, not literally, Mac, but
Okay.
I mean it. And anyway,
We'll talk about that when we come back. I also want to hear a little bit about FEMA camps and more today live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the Home Comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershot.
I am Administrative Manager
I am the Senior Technician.
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're gonna do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's gonna be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're gonna do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed right or it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you gonna say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're gonna be listening. They're gonna wanna know what your challenges are. Then they're gonna come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you know, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
We've got questions. You've got the answer. Join the conversation. It's your voice we want to hear. So call 855-244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
Okay, 21 minutes after the hour on the 20th day of August in the Lord's year 2013. I'm J. Michael McCoy. This Friday, great conversation between 3 and 4 in the afternoon. Paul Porter will be here, and one of the conversations we're going to have, and I haven't figured out how to make this into a catchy little headline yet, but basically the conversation we're going to have is this. There is a perception in the Christian community, supported by some texts, some Bible phrases, some Bible verses, that when we pass through this life and on to our next with our Heavenly Father, that there will be a judgment day, and that our names recorded in the book of life, God will judge us for our actions here on earth. Okay, that's one thought.
We're in trouble.
The other thought is that there will be no judgment on my physical, earthly life because the blood of Jesus covers all of that. And God's not going to greet me at the door with well, let me show you the videotape of your life. He's going to greet you and say, welcome, good and honest son. Which one do you believe in? That's the conversation Friday with Paul Porter from the Van Meter Christian Church.
You better hope it's the latter, Mac.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I do not want to ever say that my opinion or what I think is more important than what's in the Bible. Never, 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 never. I've been there in my life that way. I'm never going back there.
Is there an option for both?
I don't know. Is there an option for both? That's the conversation we're going to have on Friday to see. Because I just don't believe that that God hunts us down, the hound of heaven bites us, we get salvation, we have this whole new life in Jesus, and then we're going to go to heaven and God's going to spend part of eternity telling me what a bad guy I was? I don't know. Anyway, I guess now you got a topic for Thursday night, huh? All right. Jeff Burkett is here. He's the president of the Iowa Firearms Coalition. They're having a big 2A Second Amendment rally this Saturday down in Searsboro, Iowa. That's about an hour from here, down by Grinnell at the Brownell Shooting Range. And it's free. Bring the kids. If you want to shoot at the range, there are different prices for ammunition or things like that. Can you bring your own weapons?
Yeah, you can. Actually, one of the events is a zombie sniper shoot where they're going to have kind of a zombie-themed target thing. You can bring your 22 and 22 LR and shoot at that. Handguns. We also
that's still the only politically correct target we've got other than evil aliens is the zombies.
Yeah, right.
We can kill the zombies.
All of us that'll be there Saturday hoarded up already. So.
We can't have the faces of liberals walking around.
I'll sell you a brick.
Well, you and I would be very comfortable with doing that, but from a movie standpoint, the aliens or the zombies are the only ones that's still okay. We can't. Well, conservative Christians are on that list as well.
Sure, yeah, it's okay to shoot a conservative Christian. Yeah, okay. And we planned this show weeks ago, but I don't think it's any coincidence. You know, Machism number 3 is coincidence is God's way of revealing himself. And I don't think it's any coincidence that Central Iowa was terrorized since Friday by a gentleman by the name of Rodney Long. He fled the Clorinda Correction Facility. He shot with the intention to kill, obviously, that deputy sheriff, but because he had a bulletproof vest on, he's alive, and then broke into a home down by Bedford, Iowa, and isn't this amazing? Was killed by a 77-year-old man. He's the homeowner who caught him burglarizing his house, and he took a shotgun to him, and now Mr. Long is dead. And at the same time, we had I'm going to get in trouble here. Somebody argue the other side, because if not, we're all going to get bad letters. But there was a gun shot outside of a school in Atlanta. They're not sure whether the shot was fired at the school, on school grounds. They only know that they heard a shot, and they evacuated an entire school, only later to find the shooter, and he's claiming it had nothing to do with the school. He just shot a gun off in the air, not aimed at anybody. And so this... What do we call this sense of that we live in?
Hysteria?
Hysteria? That every time somebody yells gun or there's a gunshot or something, all the crazies come out. And then there, of course, and you know that CNN and NBC and everybody, when they do this story tonight, which has no legs at all, they'll somehow get into a gun protection, Second Amendment. We need to have more gun control.
Yeah. The first thing that comes to mind is, had somebody been that close to a school with a firearm that really wanted to do damage, they would have probably done a lot more damage than what was done. I don't. I only know what I've read on the incident. It'll be interesting to see what the context of the firing was, if he was firing. One of the things that we do battle on our side of things with pro Second Amendment people is how, what do our rights allow us? So I don't know what he was doing, where he was at, what areas are adjacent to the school. But it probably wasn't the smartest thing to have the firearm that he had and having fired a shot. There's probably a very fair statement to be made there. One of the things that people ask me about in Iowa is, I've got my permit to carry. Where can I carry? I said pretty much anywhere other than school grounds and the places, that it states under state law. And they're like, I can open carry. I said, you can open carry. But I've had people call me because they've been tackled by a horde of police by open carrying, walking down the street. So
open carry meaning it's not concealed.
It's not concealed. Okay. Yep, on their belt. In fact,
and that's totally legal.
It's totally legal as long as you have a permit to carry and you're not somewhere that you shouldn't legally be with that firearm.
Jeff, let me ask you, how many members does your coalition encompass now?
I don't know. Total, we're over 10,000.
10,000.
Yeah.
And these are people primarily Iowans?
Yeah, primarily Iowans. We have a lot of people that have moved out or vice versa or support us from out of state, but 98% are Iowans.
Big percent of those would have their permits to carry, I would assume, as well?
I would assume so. Right now, as of the middle of June, we had over 182,000 permits issued in Iowa.
Yeah, I mean, to give, some credibility to this, I will admit that for a long time I've had my permit to carry.
Mm-hmm.
My nephew has a gun shop down in Corden, Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up shooting. I guess I've always assumed that that's part of our country's heritage, that people in large part would learn how to, you can't just buy a gun and stick it under your sheet and never fire it and don't know how to use it. That's not going to do you much good. You need
Exactly.
to learn, hopefully at an early age, the gun and the gun safety and proper use. I'm sure you advocate that, Jeff.
Absolutely. Education is paramount to gun ownership. So,
Tom Coates in the house today, along with Jeff Burkett. He's the president of the Iowa Firearms Coalition. Big deal going on this Saturday. Starts in the morning down at Searsboro, Iowa, by Grinnell at the Brownell Shooting Range. It's free of charge. Bring the kids, bring the grandkids. Educate your kids and grandkids, like we were just saying, on firearms, so that they know how to shoot them. I saw a buddy of mine on Facebook, Gabe Haugland. You know Gabe? No. He's got I suppose she's 5, 6, and there's a picture of him showing her how to shoot a rifle.
yeah, that's the way it should
Today.
be.
Yeah, that's the way it should be.
There was a time, where we taught hunters education right in our public schools.
All right. Now, I want you to educate me on something.
Sure.
And this is not a rhetorical question. I really asked this question because I'm ignorant of the answer. Have we lost Second Amendment rights in the last 50 years?
Absolutely.
Okay, what are they? Not doubting you. I just want to know.
Part of the problem with our founding fathers was that they were wise enough and eloquent at the same time to keep things very, very brief and concise. So the Second Amendment, a lot of what's being debated now are things that were not spelled out specifically in the wording that we have in the Second Amendment. So what we've seen over time, largely because of complacency, political complacency here in the United States, we have most people I talk to can't tell me who their state representative, can't tell me who their state senator is, many times maybe not even their mayor. We have allowed bureaucrats to come into office and make rules on a right that was specifically not to be infringed. That is the Second Amendment right, the right to keep and bear arms. So anytime any rule, any law, any type of government entity has passed something on paper to enforce that infringes my right to keep or my right to bear arms, I feel that is an infringement. I mean, the word infringe, when you think of the word fringe, that means nothing is to come into the very outside essence of being able to keep and bear arms. And there's a lot of places. A perfect example is I can't legally go to my post office box and pick up my mail. That's a federal felony.
If you're carrying a gun.
If I'm carrying a gun.
Jeff,
that's crazy.
The anti-gun liberals will say that the Second Amendment is antiquated. It's from a bygone era. It refers to the rights of a militia. Mm-hmm. They're saying that that no longer do we have need of a militia as we did in our early days, and therefore the whole thing is antiquated, needs to be rethought. Your comment about that argument that comes at you?
Well, I think the simple answer to that is to simply back up into history prior to the Second Amendment being established and look at other countries and what they had done, and just the basic history of our right to protect ourselves. And I think throughout history, reasonable men have acknowledged a basic right of protection, which is really what the Second Amendment is about.
And many other countries have disarmed their citizenry prior to dictatorships, tyrannies taking over.
Yes.
I'm sure you can probably quote some of those instances, right?
Yeah,
Didn't Hitler do it?
There's a very well established pattern throughout history with many leaders where populations were disarmed prior to their destruction or partial destruction.
But do you think has there been an attempt in America to disarm us?
Overtly, no. I mean, nobody's been bold enough to try to come forth with an agenda of sending military or law enforcement out to pull firearms from people's hands. Covertly, very much so.
All right.
From the all the way right down to trying to ban components that are used in manufacturing ammunition, to creating taxes, to creating forced liability where people have to go out and get insurance to even own or carry firearms. It's very much a covert attempt in many
I
facets.
didn't know about some of that stuff.
Yeah.
That's wild. What about, are you offended by the banning of some, what I call machine guns? I'm sure they're AK-47s or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, aren't there some weapons that are banned that I can't own?
State and federal regulations are different on that. There's a federal act that was passed in the early 1900s that regards some of that, that relates to some of those items. Interestingly enough, here at the state level in Iowa, we have less rights than our neighbors in Nebraska. We can't own things like suppressors. We can't own things like fully automatic weapons and those sort of things.
Jeff Burkett is my guest today, along with Tom Coates. He is the president of the Iowa Firearms Coalition. Big event going on in Searlesboro, Iowa, this Saturday. That's down by Grinnell. You should check it out. Go to iowafc.org. iowafc.org. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation on the loss of Second Amendment rights and talk about FEMA camps and some other things. Live here on The View from a Pew on KTIA, Iowa.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
The point is, we are free now to do what we could never do before, and that is love and obey Christ and answer to Him, our Savior, rather than answer to someone else on this earth who sets Him up as your authority. You and I answer to Christ.
And because of Jesus Christ, the gospel was preached, and you and I are blessed today because of Abraham. Did you know that? We're blessed.
Experience Truth, 99.3 FM.
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
Drink, dance, party. Kitty's is the ultimate dance club in Des Moines. A huge dance floor with room to move, 3 bars to keep your drinks full, and kickin' DJs playing all your favorite dance music. At Kitty's, we've always got your birthday party planned with Birthday Fridays. That's right, when your birthday rolls around, there's only one place to go. Gather up your friends and head to Kitty's, where you drink free on the Friday of your birthday week. Find out more about Birthday Fridays at kittiesusa.com. Kitty's, all kinds of people, all kinds of music, all kinds of fun.
If you choose to obey the power of sin, it leads to death. If you choose to obey obedience, it leads to righteousness.
Forgiveness is just the beginning of life in Christ. God wants us to live for Him now.
And because of Jesus Christ, the gospel was preached, and you and I are blessed today because of Abraham. Did you know that? We're blessed.
Experience Truth, 99.3 FM.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
the ones in the pew, not pulpit. Come on now, let's reason together. The phone lines are open, so call 855-244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
All right, 22 before the top, Salem Radio Network News, and then Michael Mudloff with True Blue from Westkirk Presbyterian Church. Our guest today is Jeff Burkhart, president of the Iowa Firearms Coalition. They have a big event going on this Saturday down at Searsboro, Iowa, which is southeast of Grinnell, southwest of Grinnell.
Southeast, just a
little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. At the Brownells shooting range down there. It's free of charge. Now, if you want to shoot, there may be a minimal charge for ammunition and stuff like that, but it's not a profit-making center. If you want to know more, don't listen to me. Go to the website at Iowa, F as in Frank, C as in Charlie.org. Iowa FC Firearms Coalition.org, and they'll give you more. Tom Coates is in the house today as we find it interesting after a 56-hour manhunt for a guy by the name of Rodney Long, who shot and tried to kill a deputy after escaping from a Clarinda correction facility. Some of the news sources are saying that he was shot by his hostage. So obviously this is a developing story, but we know that he broke into a home down by Bedford, Iowa, cut the phone lines, broke into the home. The reports I've heard was he was rambling through the house to find things that he could take with him to help survive. And the 77-year-old guy that was living there pulled out a shotgun and killed him. Now I don't know if he was technically a hostage or not. I'm not sure, but it's an interesting day to have this conversation because we are talking about Second Amendment rights and gun rights, and the leftist heathen media that would like us to take us to a tyrannical. Is that the right word?
Well, a statist, and Mac, that we ought to give this guy an award because how many dollars did he save the Iowa taxpayers?
Absolutely.
With one shotgun shell, I mean, what's it cost to keep a man in prison these days?
Yeah, absolutely.
$40,000 a year or so.
Yeah, plus all the prosecution and
all the legal costs. Yeah, we got to give this guy an award.
Let's talk for a minute about FEMA camps because we hear about these, and one of the I love social networking. And I wouldn't go back to an era when we didn't have it. But one of the things about social networking is liars live high on social networking. Right. You get yourself a little website that you make for free from WordPress, and all of a sudden now you are a blogger. Yep. And you're supposed to be a respected journalist.
And because it's on the internet, it's true.
It's true. And so some Charlie Yodo writes an article which has no basis of fact. It could be slanderous and liable, but instead it gets put on Facebook and it gets shared, and for 24 hours it lives as a possible truth.
Right.
One of the things I hear a lot about is FEMA camps. And these are camps in the middle of nowhere where the government is ready to house hundreds of thousands of people. Now, there are those on one thought, and some people think that they have tinfoil hats. I happen to think they're the most courageous and intelligent people around, not because what they say is true. It's because they're willing to say it. They think these are government... what am I trying to say?
Concentration camps.
Yeah.
It's a lot of times what they're being equated to.
Yeah, where a natural disaster or a disaster that comes up that is supposed to look like it's natural but wasn't, could be a huge explosion at a plant that was set. It could be one of many things. They could put a bunch of chloride train cars on a train and then derail it in the middle of Des Moines and send 100,000 people from the south side of Des Moines to one of these camps, and boom, they're under military control. What do you know about these things? Any truth to them?
I honestly, from a personal perspective, I don't spend a lot of time on chasing down a lot of this stuff directly. So I it's not something I'm overly concerned about. I'm more concerned about just the practical, tangible, real life issues that I see affecting me on a day to day, which is a direct attack on our Second Amendment rights. So there is a lot of talk that's been had in the community about these and in their legitimacy, but I can't really say that I've invested a lot of time worrying about the malicious allegations that are out there about how these might be used or are planned to being used.
All right, so I went to Wikipedia, which I guess is supposed to be a reliable source. No, you're smiling, Jeff.
It's
who knows?
Yeah,
I've been fooled. It's on the internet. It's true. Is that what it is? Okay. FEMA concentration camps exist in the mind of a particularly loopy bunch of conspiracy theorists who believe that mass internment camp facilities have been built across the continental United States by FEMA in preparation for a future declaration of martial law. Well, I guess we know where that writer's coming from, don't we? So at this point, they're just
right.
Probably not true.
I mean, I think the thing about it is, whenever you come upon something like this, whether it's tinfoil hat or not, it begs the question as to why are these things coming about? And the reason that these type of things come about is because there are some very real questions out there right now about our government, about the use of powers by our elected president, and that includes the previous President Bush prior to Obama. It's not limited to one party or the other. Honestly, the biggest problem I see right now isn't so much some of these stories that get blown out of proportion, if that's what you want to call it, or tinfoil hat. The biggest problem I see right now is a real practical grassroots effort across the United States on all levels, not just Second Amendment. People not being engaged, people more interested in what late night show is playing, what NFL games on Sunday, what college games on Saturday, than who's my elected officials and what's going on in my government.
All right. Jeff Burkett is our guest, president of Iowa Firearms. You just said that you're not so concerned with what's going on in the rumors of FEMA camps as you are on a day-to-day basis of our Second Amendment rights being infringed upon.
Yep.
Tell me something that's going on right now. I don't mean today, but in August, in the fall, the summer of 2013, that's going on that could impact our Second Amendment rights.
Well, I think the things that I think maybe surprised you a little bit that I mentioned earlier are a lot of people aren't generally aware of that are going on right now are movements to, for example, there's a big attack right now on traditional ammunition, which is the use of lead in firearms and whether or not they can pollute the environment. And interestingly enough, there is science out there to back up the fact that this issue is being vastly blown out of proportion. Not only that, but those who are attacking on this from the other side on this are using fabricated information that they're presenting to legislators by creating birds that they've stuffed lead into to try to show that, and this has all been proved by and I'm not just making this up, I mean, this has all been proved by pulling their documents by virtue of public access and seeing that they're writing these things in their internal communications. Attempts to try to put, I mean, if they can't attack firearms directly, they're looking at ways around it by taxation, by trying to inflate the cost of and make firearms unaffordable for the average citizen. Make it so that you have to carry ridiculous amounts of insurance to even own or carry firearms. These are all things that are trying to be done to back our way into a society that is completely unarmed.
When we come back from our break, I want to talk about some of the things that are happening in Iowa. I want to know if there have been bills introduced to create a requirement, Jeff, to carry insurance. I also want to know about what's going on with the Stand Your Ground law in Iowa. That's been proposed, and I know you guys are very much for it.
Yes.
I want to hear about some of those things. Jeff Burkett, president of the Iowa Firearms Coalition. Go to their website at Iowa, F as in Frank, C as in Charlie, or F as in Firearms, and C as in Coalition.org, and you'll find out about their big 2A rally coming up this Saturday in Searsboro, Iowa, down by Grinnell at the Brownell's gun firing range. Free of charge. Take the kids, the grandkids. Have a good day and educate the young on the use of firearms. We'll be back live here on The View from a Pew on KTIA, Iowa.
There's a point point is we are free now to do what we could never do before, and that is love and obey Christ and answer to him, our Savior, rather than answer to someone else on this earth who sets him up as your authority. You and I answer to Christ.
And because of Jesus Christ, the gospel was preached, and you and I are blessed today because of Abraham. Did you know that? We're blessed.
Experience Truth, 99.3 FM.
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
If you choose to obey the power of sin, it leads to death. If you choose to obey obedience, it leads to righteousness.
Forgiveness is just the beginning of life in Christ. God wants us to live for him now.
And because of Jesus Christ, the gospel was preached, and you and I are blessed today because of Abraham. Did you know that? We're blessed.
Experience Truth, 99.3 FM.
We've got questions. You've got the answer. Join the conversation. It's your voice we want to hear. So call 855-244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
10 before the top Salem Radio Network news, and then Michael Mudloff from West Kirk Presbyterian Church. Let me give you an update. This is via Channel 8. Apparently, this Long guy, this Rodney Long, broke into the home of the Maudleys, Mauderlys, so Maudleys home. 77-year-old man, 75-year-old wife, held them hostage for several hours while he gathered things about the house. And then somehow the husband, doesn't say he got loose, but somehow the husband ended up getting to a firearm and shooting and killing Long. So more and more is coming out. I would encourage you to watch your local network news, your local news tonight at 5, 6, and 10, or 9 on Fox with Channel 13, and I think they'll probably be able to fill us in completely on this. But once again, I like what Tom Coates said last hour. We ought to give this guy a medal because he just saved the people of Iowa a whole lot of money. But, you know, at what point do you not allow the justice system to, you know, you're innocent until found guilty?
When a guy like that comes into your house in the dark of night, Mac, is when that is when that comes to an end. I feel the same way about coons infringing on my home too. So,
your raccoons.
Raccoons. Let's make that clear.
Yeah,
I'm talking about the kind we used to make
hats out of.
At least had some value to them at one point because you can make a hat out of them. We don't wear raccoon skin caps anymore, so I think elimination of those as well is in order.
Jeff Burkhart, Iowa Firearms Coalition president, talk to us about these loss of Second Amendment rights that we're dealing with at the legislative level.
Sure. Well, you asked before the break there about kind of what some of the things that are going on specific in Iowa. So looking forward, our primary agenda item is to get a constitutional right to keep and bear arms in the state constitution. The reason for that is to have actually enhanced protections here at the state constitution level than what we have in the verbiage in the federal level. And the reason for that being, we know that the federal level Second Amendment is being under attack. Mm-hmm. So we want some specific rights that are going to create us at a state level some constitutional protection.
So stand your ground is a high priority for your organization?
Stand your ground is always going to be something that we're focused on until we see it to come to fruition. And this incident right here that we had recently with this Rodney Long in the Clarinda area is a prime example. Granted, this is going to be a slam dunk case for what your classic self-defense shooting is. This guy had every right to defend his life and take this guy's life with a firearm. And even with that case, under Iowa state law, he is not protected from civil liability in the situation.
Do you think something might happen to him?
Probably not in this case, but he could. I mean, the way our state law is set up now, you can be completely justified and cleared of criminal charges in a self-defense shooting on your own property, and still be found and still even if you're cleared,
this guy's family could come after him in a civil case.
You could have a civil case against you that, win or lose, it costs you tens of thousands of dollars at minimum to defend yourself.
Outrageous.
What's the law say about me as a independent businessman, and I have a gun under the counter of my quick shop, and somebody comes in to rob me, and I blow the guy away?
It's pretty much similar. The Castle Doctrine for a property owner that's in a business scenario as it is a personal scenario. However, when it comes to the court of law, if you have to get in front of a judge or jury in that situation, you're probably going to have less ground, because at the end of the day, are you protecting your life, or you're protecting chips and Fritos, and how do you and how do the circumstances of that given case play out in a verbal scenario? We all know how a judicial system can turn somebody that's innocently defending themselves in their home or in their business into a criminal just by twisting facts.
So it does help to have some insurance, doesn't it?
It does. We encourage everyone who's going to own a firearm and use it for self-defense, whether they're carrying it or whether it's in their home or business, to absolutely be insured.
And that assured against tort lawsuits.
Yes.
They would defend you, yes.
What was the opinion in the Second Amendment rights crowd community about the Trayvon Martin case, the Stand Your Ground case in Florida?
There were actually
It wasn't a Stand Your Ground case, though. It was a self-defense. They did not invoke the Stand Your Ground down there, did they?
That's the important fact to this that has quickly been brushed under the rug. In fact, when the Trayvon Martin incident happened, literally within about a week after we had Stand Your Ground pass through the Iowa House here two legislative sessions ago, and immediately clamoring nationwide about Stand Your Ground and how evil Stand Your Ground was. Afterwards, what happened is Florida issued a commission to study Stand Your Ground. The results of that commission not only found the Stand Your Ground law to be fine, but reiterated the fact of Stand Your Ground, that somebody should be able to defend themselves and stand their ground. That didn't get reported by the media. Subsequently, the coverage has now switched into a big racial thing between Trayvon Martin's side and what's the other gentleman's name?
Zimmerman.
Zimmerman's side. Is he a Hispanic? Is he a white Hispanic? And all of this. So now we've taken it, we've made it a racially motivated thing.
When we got the commander-in-chief that got in and threw his 2 cents in early before he even knew the facts.
Yes.
Which is not unusual for this guy.
No, and all the while continuation occurs. A continuing confusion occurs as this being a Stand Your Ground issue, and Tom is exactly right. This is not a Stand Your Ground issue. This issue was simply a self-defense shooting. There was no question about whether Stand Your Ground even came into play into that incident.
So we don't have Stand Your Ground in Iowa yet?
We do not have Stand Your Ground in Iowa.
Will we?
And we had, that same year, we had a gentleman right here in Des Moines who was shot in self-defense in a vehicle incident. This guy, I don't remember the stats. He was an African-American gentleman. He was a former law enforcement, I believe, of some sort, a pretty upstanding individual. Yet they put him in prison for, whatever it was, 100 and some days. When it was all said and done, he was cleared of charges, but that cost him his job, it cost him his home, it cost him tens of thousands of dollars in lawyers' fees, because we don't have anything in Iowa that protects people who are using firearms for self-defense in a law-abiding way.
Would you also absolve them from civil liability if the stand your ground law that you want would pass?
Yes.
Okay.
Jeff Burkhardt has been our guest today. He's the president of the Iowa Firearms Coalition. Big event this Saturday, free of charge, down at Searsboro, Iowa, just south of Grinnell at the Brunel's firing range. You can fire guns. You can teach your kids how to fire guns. Grandpa, take your grandkids down there, and let's educate our young on Second Amendment rights. All right. Thanks for being here today. All I ask that you do until I see you again is just pray.